Assalamu alaikum, fam. Hope you're doing well. We are continuing our long series of reading the Jehovah's Witness version of the Bible. I have studied with Jehovah's Witnesses. I have been to their kingdom halls in the past, obviously, before I became Muslim. And their translation is different, but still important to understand for those of us who like to study theology and who want to have deep philosophical discussions with certain Christian sects. So we must know what we're talking about and actually take the time, take due diligence to go word for word in order so that we can speak accurately with knowledge and even correct certain Christians if they don't even know their own Bible. So, that being said, go ahead and listen to this as you cook dinner, ride your bike, exercise, fish, whatever it is you're doing. We had finished chapter 19, and it was a pretty sad story, what happened to the concubine. So maybe we will learn more, right, coming up in Judges 20. Okay, let's begin. Consequently, all the sons of Israel went out, and the assembly congregated themselves as one man, from Dan down to the Beersheba. So notice this. They congregated themselves as one man, so they were separate tribes. This almost sounds like a confederacy, but they united as one man, so one force. Very interesting. Along with the land of Gilead to Jehovah at Mitzpah. So the key men of all the people and all the tribes of Israel took their station in the congregation of the people of the true God. 400,000 men on foot who drew the sword. Whoa! 400,000. That's substantial. That's so large. How are you going to feed all of them? And the sons of Benjamin got to hear that the sons of Israel had gone up to Mizpah. So the sons of Benjamin, sons of Israel, they're up in this place called Mizpah. Then the sons of Israel said, "Speak. How has this bad thing been brought about?" So look, they're interesting. Hold up. I think they're talking about the concubine, because her master dismembered her and put a piece in every part. So this then, I think, means that the elders of these areas saw this crime horribly grotesque, and now they've united, it appears, and they're asking, like, what happened? So look, we're gonna find out, I think. At this, the man, the Levite, it's her master, the Levite dude, the husband of the murdered woman, answered and said, "It was to Gibeah, which belongs to Benjamin, that I came, I and my concubine, to stay overnight. And the landowners of Gibeah proceeded to rise up against me, and to surround the house against me by night. It was I that they figured on killing, but it was my concubine that they raped, and she gradually died." Oh, he's lying. He's lying. Well, I mean, the last part. He's the one. Wait a minute. So does he think he did some type of mercy? Like, when it's said that when Caesar or Augustus, I forget which one, but when they were surrounding Cato's villa, he put a sword to himself. And some people have the old school view back in this day that if somebody was passing and you wanted to help them not suffer anymore, you would just finish the job. So if she was gradually dying and he was thinking he was finishing the job, why did he go the extra step of the dishonorable dismemberment? This is how you know it's like, he could have done it a regular way and buried her, but he didn't do that. He dismembered and put apart all across the lands, right? Which would have taken time and logistics. Much different. Hence I grasped my concubine and cut her up and sent her into every field of Israel's inheritance, because they had carried on loose conduct and disgraceful folly in Israel. Okay. So this was like, hey, you have allowed loose conduct because remember the good for nothing men, they surrounded the house. So he's saying here that you didn't have law and order. And when you have this type of reckless, no control, these kind of things happen. So take a lesson. Loose conduct and disgraceful folly. So interesting. Look, all you sons of Israel, give your word and counsel here. So all the people rose up as one man, saying, We shall not go, any of us, to his tent, nor shall we turn aside, any of us, to his house. And now this is the thing that we shall do to the Gibeah. Let us go up by lot against it. And we must take 10 men out of 100 of all the tribes of Israel, and 100 out of 1,000, and 1,000 out of 10,000, to procure provision for the people, that they may take action by going against Gibeah of Benjamin. In view of all the disgraceful folly that they did in Israel. Thus all the men of Israel were gathered against the city as one man, as allies. According to the tribes of Israel, sent men to all the tribes of Benjamin, saying, What is this bad thing that has been brought about among you? And now give over the men, the good-for-nothing men. Okay, so now give over the good-for-nothing men. Why couldn't it be done before? Couldn't they blockaded themselves inside the house? Did no one had swords? That are Gibeah, that we may put them to death, and let us clear out what is bad from Israel. So at least, okay, so one consoling factor is that the concubines, rapists, are going to be killed. And the sons of Benjamin did not want to listen to the voice of their brothers, the sons of Israel. Then the sons of Benjamin went gathering together out of the cities to Gibeah to go out to battle against the sons of Israel. So the sons of Benjamin got to be mustered on that day from the cities, 26,000 men drawing sword, apart from the inhabitants of Gibeah, of whom 700 chosen men were mustered. Out of all this people there were 700 chosen men, left-handed. Every one of these was a slinger of stones, to a hairbreadth, and would not miss. Oh, wow. So, a slinger of stones, left-handed. So, that's interesting. So, usually people suck with their left hand. So, here you see that even though they're left-handed, they're gonna get you. Because when it says a hair's breadth, it means very thin line, like so close, like they don't miss. So they're so good with their left hand, chucking rocks. Boink, you're gonna get it. Better watch out. And the men of Israel were mustered apart from Benjamin, 400,000 men, drawing sword. So notice this, drawing sword. Battles are taking place. Okay, there are battles. They were not like pacifist hippies and just letting people walk all over them. So when you hear that the people of the past in the Old Testament drew their swords and they went to battle and they put rapists to death, well, you can see some of the old school ethics, right? Today you have people who make apologetics for those types. Oh, they'll be rehabilitated. You gotta have this compassion for the criminals. Here you can see that old school, Old Testament people were like, nah, we ain't having that. Every one of these was a man of war. Notice that. What does a man of war means? They were warriors. So they were their own form of jihadis. They were their own forms of warriors. So when you see this, a Christian who isn't brainwashed by the modern liberal Christians, but who actually gets this meaning, I feel, would know that you have to have men of war in your army if you're going to maintain your land. Okay? And notice how it said all the men were united as one. Didn't say women. There was no women. These were male leaders coming together with their armies. Okay? It's very interesting to see the actual words here on the paper be different than what people frame, Christianity as. Ayana Hersey should maybe read this, shouldn't she? And they proceeded to rise up and go on up to Bethel, and to inquire of God. Then the sons of Israel said, Who of us should go up in the lead to the battle against the sons of Benjamin? To this Jehovah said, Judah in the lead. So God, right here, is giving them battle advice. Let's write that down. Battle advice. So, the same God of the New Testament is showing them how to take charge and to conquer. So when people try to pretend that God is just love, some sort of bunny rabbit hippie, weird, strange, new age God, well, they obviously haven't actually dug in and really thought about what this is saying. He's telling Judah to go in the lead. Okay? He's giving advice on war. Okay? And war in this time is face to face, dagger to dagger. Okay? It's pretty brutal. Pretty freaking brutal. After that, the sons of Israel rose up in the morning and camped against Gibeah. The men of Israel now went out to battle against Benjamin. Okay, so they go into war. And the men of Israel proceeded to draw up in battle formation against them at Gibeah. So the sons of Benjamin came out from Gibeah and brought 22,000 men in Israel down to ruin to the earth on that day. However, the people, the men of Israel, showed themselves courageous and again went drawing up in battle formation. So notice here, hold up. So the sons of Benjamin, they put 22,000 people to the sword. Okay? That's a massive battlefield. Okay? That's a lot of people perishing. With the sanction of God. Pay attention. God sanctioned a battle. Well, their God. No, my God's Allah. I don't know if you're supposed to say that Jehovah and Allah are the same thing, even though some people say yes, but I'm just going to say it's different. But their God, okay, according to how they've defined their God, has approved and has allowed 22,000 men of Israel to perish on the battlefield. So feminine men not going to be able to win that war, are they? Are they? To ruin to earth on that day. However, the people, the men of Israel, showed themselves courageous. So here, men are supposed to be courageous. They're not supposed to give up. Okay? The cowardice and pacifist hippie Jesus that Ayana Hersey and others have made Christians out to be clearly is inaccurate. Today, the pacification has been deliberate through Disney and other means, and they've become kind of like Matt Walsh figures. Okay? But you get to see that the followers of Jehovah were courageous and went to war. And they saw a battlefield where 20,000 corpses were there. Imagine the smell, the scene, the sounds even. And they had to carry on. So think of the endurance. Think of the endurance. So when people complain about Muslims having sanctions for war in our faith, clearly Jehovah allowed the same thing. Okay? He allowed the sons of Israel to fight against the Benjamites. Period. And again went drawing up in battle formation in the place where they had drawn up in formation the first day. So they're going back at it. Persistence. Then the sons of Israel went up and wept before Jehovah until the evening, and inquired of Jehovah, saying, Shall I again approach for battle against the sons of Benjamin, my brother? To this Jehovah said, Go up against him. So notice this right here. This is important. God is telling them, even when they are crying, right? You must go to battle, to war. End them. Do you see? Does that sound like a hippy-dippy, peace, love, smoking weed, drink wine type of God? Doesn't. This is why it's beneficial to see what the doctrines actually say and then see how fake today's Christians are when they hide, minimize, and disgrace their own book in the name of liberalism and pacifism, which is clearly contrary to what the same God has sanctioned. So when you see battles in the past with Christian generals, majority Christian people, now you understand that they would have looked to these verses and reflected upon it, philosophized upon it, and felt that they should do the same as those who came before them. It's very interesting. Very interesting. What do you think? What do you think? It's really intense. Really intense, this battle. And they were as brothers, in a sense. So they were once close and they had to go to war. And what led to this was them not having control over their area with good-for-nothings around, who went to an old man's house, and the concubine was dismembered, and those people were all united, the elders, and said, this is not allowed to happen. And the man, the Levite, he caused some trouble, and it led to this war. So it kind of shows you the process that has led up to this. The concubine's father trying to be charitable. You can see the sequence of events quite clearly. You can see how small actions lead up to bigger actions. And so this is quite interesting, I must say. Very interesting. Very interesting.